How's it going, everyone? My name is Kasperanza, and in this video, I wanted to give quick 9 tips on fursuit making. I am a beginner fursuit maker, but I also feel like I'm pretty good at fursuit making. So I feel like I do have some advice or some good tips that could help people. My first tip is that you're going to be spending a lot of money. So you're going to be spending money on things you never intended. You're gonna waste a lot of money. You're gonna buy stuff that you didn't need. You're gonna buy stuff that you did need, and it's gonna be more expensive than you thought, like $150 on a sewing machine. I don't know. I had to do all kinds of stuff. Like I had to buy a white marker so that I could draw like the lines onto black fur because you couldn't see it with a Sharpie. For my paws, I got fur that was really, really long, but I realized that, oh, it's too long for my fursuit head. So like, and my fursuit body. So I had to buy like a whole set of black fabric fur just so it could be the right length. Okay, my second tip is to learn how to use the sewing machine. So when I first started fursuit making, I started sewing with like the black fleece. I don't know what the fabric is called, but it's like this really weird, stretchy and firm fabric that is very difficult to sew with. Like if you sew it with the sewing machine, you're gonna think like, how do people even sew with the sewing machine? And when I did that, it made me think sewing with the sewing machine was a lot harder than it actually was. But it's actually pretty easy. When I first started using the sewing machine, it took me maybe like 5 hours to learn how to get into the groove. But once I actually got into it, sewing was actually really easy because it will save you so much time. In all of my videos, I spent way too long hand sewing when I should have been using the sewing machine. That was a big mistake. I wasted so much time. The other thing is use clips. Don't use the pins. I'll be honest, I don't know what people use pins for when they're sewing. I've tried to use the pins. The pins make it more difficult. Use the clips. The clips to me are way better. My next tip is to not rush the taping part. This is really important because cut out the fur and then you sew the fur. And then when you go to glue the fur onto your head base or whatever, or when you go to wear it as like your fursuit, it's going to be weird because you didn't do the taping part correctly. Make sure the taping part is done correctly. One of my biggest problems, I didn't make it very clear, like how the different shapes connected with each other. And so after I cut out all of the tape, and then I tried to reassemble the tape so that I could cut out the fur, I couldn't figure out what I was doing. Like I wasted so much time kind of trying to figure that out. So, and a lot of people say like I've gotten so much comments of people saying like you can just do one half of the head base. You don't have to tape the whole thing. But the problem with that is that if your head base is not symmetrical, and chances are, if you're learning how to make fursuits, your head base probably won't be symmetrical unless you 3D print it. You should do the whole head base. You shouldn't rush this stuff. Okay, the next tip is iterative creativity. In other words, avoid perfectionism. So there was this study where a scientist or an experimenter, I don't know, he took a group of pottery makers and he told one half to make a pot every single day for a month. And then he told the other half to make one pot, one perfect pot for the month. And what this scientist discovered in this study was that the people who made one pot every single day ended up making a better pot than the people who made only one perfect pot for the month. So, what does this mean? It means focus on making a lot, right? If you want to make a good fursuit head, make a bunch of fursuit heads. Don't worry so much about it being perfect. What really held me back as a creator is that when I documented my fursuit making process, is that I felt a lot of pressure to perform and to make the best fursuit that I could. And so I ended up procrastinating a lot because I knew I was going to post it online, which meant it had to be perfect. When you don't create as much as you can, when you're constantly avoiding mistakes, you don't learn anything. I mean, we learn by making mistakes. Every time you do something wrong, it teaches you a lesson, and with that lesson, you can improve your skills. Okay, my next tip, don't compare yourself to other people. When I did post my fursuit making videos, a lot of people were amazed by how good it was for my first fursuit. And on the one hand, I feel like I inspired and encouraged a lot of people to make their own fursuits, but I also feel like I made a lot of people feel bad about themselves because they were like, well, I couldn't make that for my first fursuit. And I feel like with this tip, I just want to say don't compare yourself to other people. We're all on our own journeys. It doesn't matter. I compare myself to people sometimes and I feel like, wow, their fursuit is amazing and mine isn't as good. But we all have to learn. We all have our different journeys. It's not a big deal. I'm kind of already an artist. To make my eyes, like a lot of people really like the eyes of my fursuit. Well, I've drawn a lot of eyes before in my life. I really love like anime eyes, and so I've drawn anime eyes quite a bit. My skills as an artist made making my fursuit pretty easy because a lot of the skills I already learned were pretty applicable and translatable to fursuit making. Which leads me to my next tip. You should learn how to draw and visualize what it is that you want to create. Go through the steps of making it in your own head. Learn to see things with your mind's eye. Learn how to draw, learn how to imagine what it is that you want to make so that when you're actually making something in front of you, is it matching what's in your head? And if it's not matching what's in your head, why is it not matching what's in your head? Because I feel like a lot of people when they're making something, they don't really know what it is that they're trying to make. They have no concept in their head. They don't have an image to reference. I don't know, I think this depends on the person. Like I'm a very visual thinker. I never think in words. I never think in sentences. I don't know how people have like a voice in their brain that tells them what they should and shouldn't do. I just think in pictures. The pictures tell me what to do, which leads me to my next tip. Have a lot of references. Like for me to even have an image in my head of what I wanted to make, I needed to see other images in reality out there of things that I really, really like that's already been made. Like, for example, at the very beginning of my fursuit making process, I showed everyone the kinds of fursuits that I want to make, of my favorite fursuits, right? So I had a really good reference. Like, I knew what it is that I wanted to make. Like, I had a goal. I had, like, I want to make something like this. I really like the shape, I like the eyes, I like their use of color and design. When you really know what it is that you're aiming for, making it is really, really easy. To expand even more on this point, when you're watching fursuit making tutorials and stuff like that, watch a lot of fursuit making tutorials. And this goes back to my other tip. Some people read fursuit, like there's fursuit making tutorials where you read it online. And I just think that's crazy. How do you make a fursuit by reading about it? I watched so many different tutorials to really see how they were connecting foam together and how they were cutting out the shapes and stuff like that. Like, if I had to read what they were doing, I would have no idea. Honestly, when you watch these tutorials, I watch them so much to the point where I have them memorized. Like, I can play the video in my head. And as I'm playing the video in my head because I memorized it, it's almost as if the person is behind my shoulder showing me how to make the fursuit. Okay, and then for my last tip, and this is kind of a boring tip, but be safe. When you make your fursuit, try to have like a room or a studio that you work in. Because as you cut the fur, like little pieces of fibers are gonna float around everywhere. It's gonna get messy really quickly. You're definitely gonna need to vacuum after every session of working on your fursuit. I recommend getting an air filter to keep the air clean. Keep the windows open if you can. Um, yeah, try to keep your space clean and organized and be safe. Wear a mask so that you're not breathing in the fibers. And yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. There is no tip 9. Tip 9 abandoned us. So yeah, we're on our own. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe for more fursuit making videos. I definitely want to get back into fursuit making. I've just been taking kind of a break. So yeah, I'll see you later. Goodbye.